We now start with the third session, the theme of which is Innovations in Community Participation, Teacher Mentoring in Rural and Tribal Schools, School Health and School Infrastructure. I'd like to welcome Mr. Ramakrishna Rao. Is an IAS officer. He has done his MTech from IIT Delhi and MBA from Duke University. He has been rendering his services in various positions such as POITDA, District Collector in Adilabad and Guntur, Commissioner School Education in erstwhile Andhra Pradesh. He is currently serving as Principal Secretary Education. Welcome, sir. Okay, I'm sorry. Says Education. Principal Secretary Finance. Next, we have Dr. Sujata in our presence. Dr. K. Sujata, who is Head of Department of Educational Administration, National University of Educational Planning and Administration. In her academic career and research experience spanning over 34 years, she has completed a large number of socially relevant and policy-oriented research projects and publication in the area of educational policy and governance with special focus on education of the disadvantaged. She has also conducted training, programs and outreach activities at international, national, state and field level, including trainings of head of ashram schools and tribal residential schools. We welcome you, ma'am. We also have Ms. Rani Sharma. Ms. Rani Sharma has taught at various levels, managed a primary school, and acted as Director, Teacher Resource Center, New Delhi. I'd like to welcome Ms. Akhtar Begum. Ms. Akhtar Begum has a postgraduate degree in early childhood education. She is also a trained counselor and psychologist. Having taught at various universities and national institutions, she is presently working as in-house teacher trainer in the group of Andhra Education Society Schools, Delhi. She strongly believes that primary education should be concept-based, where the teachers are facilitators of learning and students initiate learning by inquiry. Welcome, ma'am. We also have with us Mr. D.N. Murthy. Mr. D.N. Murthy has been affiliated to various organizations and has coordinated different projects in the education and health sector. His work aims to bring awareness amongst people about education and health from a very young age. Welcome, sir. We also have with us Mr. Sandeep Menon. Mr. Menon is alumni of Rishi Valley and an entrepreneur for the past 2.5 decades. He has been involved with River for the past few years and associated with their national and international partnership programs and technology innovations. He firmly believes in linking local traditions and culture to primary education. We welcome you, sir. I'd also like to welcome Mr. Surya Prasad. Mr. Surya Prasad has an MTech from IIT. He worked in the US for more than 16 years but came back to India to involve himself in various NGOs and started his own organization. He has been working actively in spreading the importance of education while also making people aware that education is not a privilege but a basic necessity. I'd also like to welcome Mr. Jagannath Roy. He is a senior assistant in Zilla Parishad. He is also founder secretary of Kriya, an NGO started in 2007 in Kakinada of East Godavari district, which is working in the area of school education, especially for improving the quality of education in government schools. Welcome, sir. We also have with us Ms. B. Kaluri, working with Datri Trust, a resource center for the rights of Adivasi women and children in India. She has been working with Adivasi communities for the last 25 years on land and forest rights and child's right to education. She has worked with Adivasi communities in initiating community schools in hilltop villages where there is no access to primary education. She was also instrumental in setting up a small innovative program on Adivasi education called Bala Mitra, which tried to integrate Adivasi culture into elementary education. Both as a civil society organization and as a state representative to the National Commission for the Protection of Children's Rights, she spent considerable time in monitoring the implementation of the Right to Education Act 2010 and in institutionalization of the Act through strengthening school management communities. Also, Miss Ranjani will be a part of this session. I welcome you all and now request Mr. Ramakrishna Rao and Dr. Sujata to please chair the panel.
My involvement in education started with ITDAs when Paderu, when I was project officer. So in those days, almost 25 years ago, we had a program what's called the Joyful Learning Program, where when I was posted to ITDA, I went to meet some senior colleagues of mine, including the then Education Secretary, who went on to become, went on to do several illustrious posts in the government of India and in the state government. So one thing he asked me was, you do whatever you want to do with the schools, but don't touch curriculum, because that is sacrosanct. So therefore I thought that's the only thing which should be touched, and everything else, will follow. So luckily, when I went to Paderu, so we had this Joyful Learning Program, where with the help of Rishi Valley School, the entire kit which was being used, the multi-grade kit which was being used, was introduced in the schools. It was just about to be introduced. So that particular program, to support that particular program, we had this concept of teachers resource centers, and then mandal resource persons, and then so lots of supporting structures to encourage the innovation which was introduced in terms of the pedagogy in the schools. So that program threw up a lot of interesting ideas, challenges, problems, successes, and then later on when we tried to upscale it to other districts, because ITDA is a compact area, PO has a lot of say in whatever happens there. But once we move on to the general area like districts, Adilabad or Guntur, there we found it to be extremely tough to to bring in the same kind of a change in terms of the curriculum, in terms of the learning that is required. Now why I'm telling this, because even in those days, 25 years ago, it was well understood that it is not just access to schools which is important, it is what happens within the schools that is going to be extremely critical. Even though prima facie, the focus in education at that point of time was mostly on providing access. But over a period of time, I think the governments have provided sufficient monies and budgets for providing access. There are now schools, there are teachers, but now there is enrollment, and the gap between girls and boys has reduced, and also the gap between the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and other communities has reduced. But now the big question now that is being debated all over is how do you improve the quality? Now quality, I think, is a very tough nut to crack. It's not so easy, because quality quite often we confuse and compare with excellence, because excellence by definition is high quality. But then that does not mean that everything which is of good quality is excellent. So excellence is something like at the top of the pyramid. Maybe it's a Mount Everest that is there. But then quality is more regular stuff, more mundane stuff. A consistent delivery of classes, consistent delivery of teaching, so that the children do learn certain basic stuff. Maybe that's what would be some kind of an acceptable quality. So quality does come at a particular price, but excellence is prohibitively expensive. Why I'm telling this, because now Praveen is here, and the Telangana government has taken a big step to start a large number of residential schools. Now residential schools, where I also studied for about 8 years during my schooling days. So these were schools of excellence, innovation, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of new ideas, everything was tight out there. But then if you want to replicate it over a large number of institutions, therefore you have, challenges which are, very, very of different order. You can build infrastructure, you can build very good buildings, you can have excellent infrastructure comparable to the rest of the world, or rest of the state, or rest of the country. But then to really bring in quality is going to be extremely, extremely challenging. Now community participation, is also again a very interesting thing, because communities, every parent is concerned about their kids' education, their children's education, whether they are rich, poor, middle class, everybody, that's the biggest concern which they have. And quite often they vote what they call in, British or American English, they vote with their feet. So they choose the schools where they think, their children get good quality education or better quality education in their perception. And quite often, more often than not, that you are seeing that nowadays, English medium schools, the schools even with poor infrastructure, but where they think the child has an opportunity to progress in life. Now, these are the schools in which they spend enormous amount of money and then send their children. And then later on, of course, Andhra and Telangana, we are famous for our cramming schools, the Chaitanyas, Narayanas of the world, where a lot of children who can crack the exams, let's say, to say the least. So therefore, but this is a phenomenon which is there across the world, even in South Korea, I'm told there is something called hogwons, where the children, the police actually enforces that the students should not study beyond 12 o'clock in the night or 1 o'clock in the night, and then they shut down the schools. So therefore, this intense urge to give a better life than as parents to our kids is always there in every family. But then, how does it translate in terms of policy, in terms of funding? Because a significant amount of money, even in poor families, is being spent on education. And government schools, they have a lot of catching up to do. And these challenges require a lot of serious thinking, and then, even though a lot of effort has been made, but I don't think, we have been able to really solve the problem in a very, very big way. So therefore, maybe going forward, the focus need not be just on providing buildings, providing monies, providing labs and things like that, but ultimately, again, coming back to the same issue, what do we do in the classroom? How do we empower our teachers? How do we improve the ability for our teachers to deliver? That's what really matters, and that would include curriculum, pedagogy, changing the qualifications for the teachers, what we teach them in their training schools, teacher training schools. So a host of other stuff needs to be done. So therefore, it's a difficult problem. Most of us are grappling with it in one shape or the other. But enormous amount of monies are being spent across India, in terms of trying to improve this. Okay, so these are some initial thoughts that I have. I've actually come here mostly to listen rather than, to share any deep insights, because this is a subject about which all of us grapple, but then I think, there are very few solutions. Okay, thank you very much.